Welcome to the Wisconsin Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Raymond.
Oh, hey there, guy.
Each week, we bring you interviews with some of Wisconsin's top real estate investors who share their tips, tricks, and strategies that you can implement right away.
Oh, crepes.
This show is dedicated to helping Wisconsin real estate investors elevate their game. Along with interviews, I'll also dive into hot topics and solo episodes and feature experts from various real estate sectors across Wisconsin.
You betcha.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Wisconsin Investor Podcast. I have Josh and Katie Dalke here with me today, guys. You're not going to want to miss this episode. I'm super excited to have them on here. Josh, Katie, what's going on over there, guys? How you doing?
Good. Yeah, really good.
Doing great.
Loving those of you that are listening, you can't see them. Go to YouTube and check it out. But they are doing the call from their vehicle right now because of kids. Tell everybody a little bit about your family background, how you got started in real estate. Let's start there and dive right in.
Yeah, we have 3 kids. We have a 5, 3, and 1-year-old. So privacy in the house is non-existent. So yeah, we are in our car, so we aren't interrupted with a million different things. But we love it. So we got started in real estate in 2017. We were moving to the area and we couldn't afford a mortgage. We couldn't afford a mortgage. We had loans, we had everything. So Josh looked at duplexes. I was for it. That was fine. He put an offer in and we got a duplex. And the first time I saw it, was a day before.
Yeah, it was the final walkthrough.
Yeah, the final walkthrough. And so how much are we going to lose when we back out of this deal? It was rough. It was a rough piece of property.
And in today's terms, it wasn't rough at all.
No, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Give us the number. Give us the numbers on that first one. Take us through that. What did that look like?
We bought it for $136,000. Duplex. We stuck. I wouldn't even remember exactly how much we stuck. We probably stuck in the ballpark of like 15 grand into it. Okay. It was the side we were living on. The other side was updated. At that time in 2017, it was within the 10 years prior to that.
Okay.
It was a nice unit and everything, but we didn't really understand that much. We updated our side, and then we rented it out initially. Well, the first tenant that was there was the original one, and that was like our first experience with having to try and get rid of somebody.
Yeah.
Right away off the bat.
Yeah. So we evicted her.
Welcome to real estate, right?
Yeah. Right away. Yeah. First one.
And then, so now, fast forward. So now the duplex is worth, it's a 2-1 on each side. It's worth
900 square feet on each side.
It's worth like 260, 270, I think we appraised for. And we bought it for 136. So It was a great deal. We, kind of our MO with real estate is that we would live in the chaos. So we would live in construction. We would live through it. We'd buy a duplex, live in one side, rent out the other, and we'd live in the worst side. So we'd live in the bad side. We would make sure we renovate it. We'd live in that with young kids. It was 7 years of tough, but
our 5-year-old has lived in 7 houses.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That has to be pretty challenging. I mean, not only we have 4 kids, and just having 4 kids and trying to run a business is challenging enough, but then to be in construction, what was that experience like, or has been? I mean, you guys are probably still doing some of that, I would assume.
Oh man, it was hard. I think so. Josh and I have very similar goals, and we're very aligned with our goals. I think if we weren't aligned with our goals and we didn't have that same mission in mind, it would have been horrible. We wouldn't have made it work. So it's not for everyone. It helped us get to where we are. So it was a good decision. We made it through. It made our relationship much stronger, our marriage much stronger. However, like, if you don't have the same goals and the same drive as your partner, it could be a recipe for success, for not disaster. Yeah, it could be really bad.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's really cool. You know, one of the things I talk a lot about on this podcast is something I'm kind of coining this phrase, the wealth cone, right? And what I think about with real estate is when you buy it, you know, at the time it was probably worth 150 or whatever it was, maybe 170 when you bought it after it was fixed up. And so you had maybe some equity in there, right? And so you're your equity and your debt are pretty close, right? You don't have a lot of equity there, what it's worth, right? As time goes on and those tenants pay it down and market appreciates typically on average about 5%, depending on where you are in the nation. But here in Wisconsin, 5% is pretty normal ish every year. You just create this huge wealth cone, and all of a sudden your net worth goes up just from owning one property like that. I mean, what is the debt on it now? Have you guys refinanced it at all, or is it the same as where it was?
Yep. So that one we refinanced it. I don't remember what year it was. It was like 2020, maybe 2019.
Mhm.
And we took out a line of credit at that time too. So in total right now we owe like 160 to 165 on that one.
Nice. So you got what, roughly about 100,000
Yeah.
equity. That's
Yep.
awesome.
And we're getting 1,300 on each side for rent. Like just easy numbers. I mean,
Yeah.
people love it. They're grateful. And I'm like, oh wow, it's a lot of rent. So
There's a lot of rent. Yeah, rents have gone up tremendously over the last
Yeah.
6 or 7 years. That's fantastic. Well, you guys, not only do you have long-term duplexes, right? You guys own short-term rentals, you have storage units, you guys have cranes now, which is not necessarily the focus of our show here of Wisconsin Real Estate
Yeah.
Investor, even though that is investing. Ours is more so focused on real estate investing. But one thing I love about you guys is you guys you're always hustling, you're always grinding, you're always like figuring out what's the next way for us to take what we're really good at and parlay that into something that can help us in the future. Talk to us about the storage, though. I mean, you guys are unique in the sense that we don't interview a lot of people that are in the storage space. So, what are the pros and cons of the storage world?
yeah, storage units. So big con. We've had people living in our storage units. Yeah, we had someone, so we have very, very nice storage units. We have gated entry, keyed entry. They're very nice. We have a lot of it's not difficult in that sense. It's not difficult to get people to rent them. They're always filled. That's a very easy pro.
Okay.
So we had someone call us and they're like, hey, the door's cracked open and like there's light on in there. And I'm like, why, what is going on? So I had Josh go check it out and he opened the door. The person wasn't there, but
Thankfully.
like someone was living there. It was like there's a makeshift bed set up. There were like those big buddy cups from Quick Trip, like big
Yeah.
buddy of
Yeah.
like urine.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
disgusting. It was so bad. So
Well, and I did go there,
it was so bad.
and now that you had brought that up, I went there with the sheriff because the sheriff's office was nervous that it was like somebody that was like cooking meth
Yeah.
or something
oh,
along those
sure.
lines.
Yeah.
So because he said that they've already had that happen in storage units. So
Wow.
when I went there, they actually didn't let me get out of the vehicle. I just stayed like so far back, and then they were the ones that like looked at it and then they told me I could come in. But yeah, it was just it was terrible. And the fact I believe it was earlier in the year. It was like February or March, so it was colder out.
Mhm.
I mean, there's no heat in those
Right.
units; they're not insulated.
No.
So it was just crazy.
It was terrible. So yeah. So you have like there's some cons.
Yeah, yeah, and I think ultimately it's in today's world, like it is a lot harder. I mean, it's harder to find real estate deals with houses as well, but with the storage, I feel like it's just kind of gone bonkers with trying to find ones that you can actually, have a good ROI and everything on
Yeah,
it.
it seems like institutional guys kind of came in and started buying them up at really low cap rates, and it's just like there's just no money to be made in a lot of cases. It seems like anymore, or any of the value add ones have been sort of scooped up. It seems like for the most part, so at least from my.
I mean, there's always deals to be had, but
Well, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The reason that we got the storage units is because I cold called. I did a lot of cold calling. That's how and I just kind of keep calling. Like, oh hey, I'll follow up in 3 months. So I just keep at it. And that determination sometimes pays off. So yeah, that's
Oh,
how
was this a value add situation? You said they're really nice. So was this already really nice? Was there some seller financing in here? Like, talk about the deal structure here. How'd you guys make this thing work to make the numbers work?
this one we had a partner come in who financed and we got it for 1.4 and I believe it appraised at like 1.8.
Ooh,
So yeah, so it had some good value. The
rent's
person
very low.
selling, yeah, the person selling had a different business that he just wanted to get rid of. The storage units were a side business for him where it wasn't a big deal. He just wanted to get rid of them and I'm like, oh, this is great, I'll take it. The rents were super, super low. Like for a 10 by 20, we rent at like $95. They were at 50.
Ooh.
So we had such a spread we could make. And we ran them for a couple months, and then we raised all the rents like 40%, and 3 people left. So they were under rented quite a bit. Yeah. So then
People
we
knew
could,
they were getting a deal. They're like looking around.
yeah,
I'm not going anywhere else.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
you guys self-manage those, or do you guys have somebody else do the management?
We have a partner manage them now. He manages a few others as well. It was really hard to self-manage. You're getting called all the time. And then if you look at doing a management company, there just aren't management companies that do storage. In the
No.
area. Yeah, we've talked to a few different managers, and they either only manage their own, or they just don't manage storage.
So that would be one of the big cons then. If you're looking at getting into the storage space, you better be prepared to manage your own.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And it's a lot of calls. It's a lot of calls.
We have been told that ours are a little bit more needy, and I think it is because it's more of like an upper class, a higher, it's a nicer storage, like Katie was saying. So I feel like a lot of our clientele are, better in that aspect where there's not as many that aren't on time with their payments,
Mhm.
but they also expect more. And honestly, I could say like when her and I, and it was mostly her, but when we were self-managing them, to get 7 calls a day was pretty common.
Wow. What are these calls? What are they calling for? Like
It
what?
was just,
Either people looking for storage, lots of looking for storage, and I don't want to just ignore those calls because you want to be a good base for the business and everything. And we even looked at doing a VA for it, but it just cost wise, it didn't make sense. So then it was calls about, hey, I'm gonna be late on rent for this one. Hey, the gate isn't opening for me. My lock is stuck, all kinds of stuff, because you're dealing with 120 people. It's not just one renter in one unit, it's 120 people at any given time. So
yeah.
yeah,
This would be
it's a
fun.
lot for,
Intensive.
yeah.
Yeah. The gate was the worst. The gate was like the best thing and the worst thing, because if somebody, it was all set up online in the app, where if somebody didn't pay, then their code was erased, so they couldn't get in. And there
Oh,
was times where the gate just didn't work at all.
and they're
And then
like, wait, I paid.
yeah. So
Yeah.
then I would have to drive out there and manually open it. And then for a while, we just left it manually opened all the time
Okay.
because we were having so many headaches with it.
Yeah.
And and then some people were like, well, we liked the gate because we felt our stuff was more secure. It's like, well, just keep a lock on your unit and you're fine.
Yeah.
But ultimately, yeah, we have someone else managing it. Makes it a lot easier now.
Okay. Nice. But they're a partner. It's not a third party
Yep,
company.
correct. Yep.
Okay. Got it. Now you guys do short term as well, right? And then you manage for other people on the short term side of things, or just your own?
I just manage for a couple people, not anything that's not where I'd like to be. Just a few people that I kind of started with, and it goes really well. It's easy to manage for them because my properties are on those platforms anyway. So I'm just kind of checking my properties, answering my messages, and then I'll answer for them as well. So
Right on. What areas are you guys invested in? So here in Wisconsin, obviously, the focus for our audience is investing in Wisconsin. Like, what markets are you in, and what are some pros and cons of the markets you're in?
sure. So we have the valley. We have a bunch in the valley. The majority of our properties are in the valley, and then we have some by
For those of you that are not familiar in
yes, yeah, thank
Wisconsin.
you. The Fox Valley. And then we have some in the La Crosse area. We have an apartment unit in the La Crosse area
Okay.
in
Southwest Wisconsin.
Southwest Wisconsin. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Very cool. And let's talk about that one for a second. Now, that one I assume you guys have management for? Like,
Yes.
okay. And are the long-term rentals that you guys have, as far as does that go, are you guys using management for that, or do you self-manage those that are more local to you guys in the valley?
So we manage all of like the single family duplexes, all those, any of our apartment complexes, those are all managed by a third party.
Talk about that for a second. What has you guys keeping the short or the single family duplexes and then outsourcing the apartments?
Well, it works well because our apartments, we have partners. The partners that we have with them own management companies. So it's just easy.
Very
It's,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's like a easy.
And I think, yeah, ultimately for the ones that like all the single family duplex, triplex, all those that Katie and I own, those we just own on our own.
Yeah.
Those we've kind of gotten to a spot with all the tenants that we have that is, they kind of manage themselves for the most part. And when it comes to anything like updates, this broke or whatever, we have people that work for us now that we can just send them to fix it, which is just going to be a lot cheaper than, having a property management company. There will be a point where we want to, have someone else come in, but we know all of our tenants and they know us, because there's the ones that we manage, we have like 31 that we self-manage.
Okay.
So those ones are easy enough to handle.
Did you guys always manage your own, or did you start out using third party?
We always manage our own.
Always manage your own. Wow. So you guys are different. You guys are a different breed than me. I always joke, and people that are listening to the podcast will hear me adamantly against self-managing properties, but I will use the caveat that there are a special breed of people that can do it and do it well. And I found them. They're the donkeys. They're the unicorns, folks. I do think there's a breaking point though. Like, for long-term rentals, I see people, they get to that 150 unit mark and it makes sense to start hiring your own staff and bringing it on. You guys, with a mix of everything you have going on between the long terms, the short terms, that sort of stuff, like you found this kind of spot where you have the contractors and the people and everything else. And it sounds like, single families are typically a little easier to manage. If you have nice side-by-side duplexes, those are a little bit easier to manage. You typically get better tenants in those. Like you see in the apartments, those can sometimes feel like a storage unit, maybe. Manage.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever self-manage an apartment building. Yeah. I don't think I could do that. That would be tough.
Yeah. There's definitely some challenges I can see there. What is the dynamic for you guys as far as, so Josh, you used to work full time, right? And now you do real estate in the crane business full time.
Yep.
Okay. And Katie, you're still working full time?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
How do you guys juggle all that with the kids? How do you keep your marriage strong, or is it? I don't know. Talk about that. Talk about the challenges that come along with everything you guys have going on, and then still trying to keep some sort of romantic marriage happening as well.
Yeah, no, like I said in the beginning, like we have very similar goals, and we have that similar drive where if it was mismatched, it would not work out. We just both grind all the time. We are getting tired though. We are getting tired on that. So we're hiring an administrative assistant. We just hired an admin to work for us to do all of our invoicing, all of our everything. Because sometimes
emails and
yes,
just all the stuff that
those
we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the what's your time worth activity, right? That's always a good one. For folks that aren't familiar with that, in our mastermind, Josh and Katie were a part of, we take you through an exercise called what's your time worth? And really we boil down like, how much are you worth if in your highest and best use in your income producing activities? And mowing your own lawn typically is on the bottom of that. Doing your own laundry is on the bottom of that list. And basically the exercise, once you figure out what your time is worth, anything under that dollar amount per hour that you can outsource, you should try to outsource, unless you love it. Like some people I talk to are like, I love mowing my grass. Okay, cool. Well, then keep mowing your grass. But if you don't, outsource it and buy back some of your time, right? So it sounds like you guys are doing that with the administrative assistant. And then where's the time going to go? So now that you're going to have all this extra time once they're trained up, what's the future look like for you guys? What's the big goals going forward?
We were actually talking about that. We're really good at growing our businesses. We are really good at that. We don't have a goal for when we can just take a step back. Like sometimes I feel like as investors, you just keep rolling and you keep going, and it's great. You're making growth, things are going well, but like you don't have that life and you don't even know what you're striving for. So Josh and I actually were just talking about how we need goals, not for business, not for anything like that, but just for us to keep us motivated and keep us going. Because when you have those really hard times, you need to have that to look at.
Yeah. I've been going through that as well. It's the same spot you guys are at, is you just keep buying and growing and growing. And you're like, well, when is enough?
Yeah.
Right? And when am I actually going to enjoy, all the reasons I said I was going to start this business? For us, it was like, I want to spend, and I ask a lot of people this, what's your why? Everybody says, oh, it's my family and my kids, right? That's like the classic.
Yeah.
And I believe in our heart, we want it to be that. But for me, if I'm being honest, a lot of it was around ego and about not that I had to have like the big, you know, big, you know what I'm talking about, measuring stick competition.
Yeah.
It was more self, like I just want to keep growing because I want to challenge myself and I feel like I have the potential to grow. It wasn't because I want to be better than this person or outgrow this person. It was more internal for me. But then I got to a point where I'm like, like we homeschool our kids. And I was like, you know what? Why do we do this? We did this because we wanted freedom so that we could have the choice to homeschool and travel. And then it's like, but then I'm working all the time instead of like spending time with the kids. I'm like, nope, I got to go grind some more. And then like travel. Ooh, we got work. We got to keep growing. Can't really chat, And it's not like we haven't sacrificed a lot, but at some point I had to have this wake up of like, there can be a balance now. Like, and I had to figure out what is that target to shoot for. One of my mentors always told me like, set a bar and then don't keep pushing the bar out. Set the bar, and when you get there, relax and enjoy it. And I think social media culture nowadays, we see hustle, grind forever. Yeah. Ooh. And then, you can always do more. There's always somebody else out there that's doing more than you. So you can keep going. And I think there's some, I don't know, stoicism, if that's the right word, or something that says like the person who can grow it to a level and then kick back and enjoy the fruits of the labor, there should be a shift, hopefully, in the culture of seeing like, wow, these people are actually just enjoying things now.
Yeah.
Not living it. But it sounds like you guys are maybe in that same path where you've got a good amount of things going and you're building some systems and hiring some people to be able to enjoy it.
Yeah. And ultimately there's a certain dollar amount that we want to hit. And once we hit that revenue monthly, and that's like what you're saying, and I just read the gap and the gain. And we talk about you can't, pursue happiness, and you set this bar where it's like, I'm going to be happy once I hit this and get this. And then you hit it and you're not happy. Now you keep moving. Just like you said, you can't keep moving that bar higher and higher.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's why we said, once this is what we have to figure out yet, but is once we hit that goal and revenue, which is a lofty goal, but ultimately it's one that is going to make, everything incredibly, easier, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
is that we want that to be the goal in the end, to where we can, take a step back and enjoy a lot more of their family.
Yeah. You're not keep extending the goalposts further.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an easy trap to get into. We definitely did. I remember when we first started, we had $8,000 a month was our goal. We're like, if we can get $8,000 a month coming in, we are set for life. And then we got there and we're like, oh no, we're not. Like, we got this, and then we bought this, and then we gotta have this, and then like the lifestyle started to expand. So it's a pretty easy trap to fall into if you're not aware of it. So, absolutely. Going back to getting started here, guys, what was the biggest challenge? Do you remember the biggest challenge of just getting started in real estate? I mean, you guys have been in what, since when did you start?
7 years.
7 years.
I mean, back then we know so much more now. So it's like, I mean, it would have been, what we know now would have been 10 times easier back then. Yeah. But I think is just like trying to figure out, your lease agreements, and how do you do background checks, and, go through tenants, and do I want to live next to this person and all that kind of stuff. So like, that was like the most challenging in the beginning, is just
because you were going to be living there.
Correct. Yeah. It's just like figuring that out. Is the financing aspect wasn't difficult because I worked in banking and I did mortgage loans. So I understood how that process worked on the residential side. Okay. Obviously then a few years later, we expanded our knowledge on the commercial side and how that all works. But that it was more so of just understanding the tenants and finding them, doing our due diligence and all that good stuff.
Okay. Got it. Very cool. So is this, I want to go back to the hire that you guys are making, this executive assistant. Is this the first hire for you guys as like a full-time employee, or have you hired full-time people before for the real estate side of things?
Nope, this is the first one. We have people who work for us, but they do other things. They're just contractors that we really know and have good relationships with. So we can call them our electrician, our plumber. We have all the people we need. But this is someone that we're hiring to really oversee what we're doing.
And just work for us.
Yeah.
Got it. What has been what was the breaking point for you to decide to make this hire? And then with this hire, what would you say to somebody who's maybe in a similar spot looking to make that first hire? I remember for us, that was scary. Are we going to put somebody on payroll and pay them every month? You know, what is this? What is the challenge for you guys when, and what was the breaking point where you said, yeah, we got to do this?
I think ultimately there's been so many times where Katie's, you're on her phone, like responding to an email or a message or whatever it might be. She's just doing one of those things that in my mind, it going back to the mastermind and, you know, what's my time worth? And then I would be doing the same thing. I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we doing these low level tasks and not delegating and having someone else do it?
Yeah.
I think it just became a point where it's like we've said it to each other so many times that we're like, we have to do it. And
Well, for me, it was, I really started to notice when I'd be on the phone answering emails, doing different things, like I was not a good mom. Like I wasn't the mom. I was more short with my kids. I was just not, I I wasn't the mom that I knew that I wanted to be for my kids. And I'm like, this is not worth it. Like, if we're building business for our family and like in doing so, I'm just more stressed and more agitated. And then when you have mom, and like a kid crying, like it just is so overstimulating that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this because you're trying to focus on a business email or something like that. So that was my breaking point, especially this year. We had our third, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this is our family. This is what we want to be working towards, and we're just not appreciating it or enjoying it because we only get so much time with our kids when they're young, and I don't want to work that away. So
For sure.
that
They
was
say
my
18 summers is all you get.
yep.
yes, yeah. So yeah. So it fit in where there was someone that we know who used to be in banking and she wants some side work and we trust her wholly. So that is making it an easier transition. I do definitely get the fear of hiring someone, bringing someone into your circle. Like it's very difficult because our businesses as investors, like you put your heart and soul and blood and sweat and everything into these companies that you're building, and it's very scary to let someone in.
Yeah. Well, and the risk too. I mean, you got risk involved with it. Like your name's at the end of the day on that note and mortgage, right? Like you're the
Yeah.
one responsible for it. And I think sometimes like we've seen this with some past employees, it's like they see the glory, they don't know the story, is what I always say, right? And they see, oh wow, you guys are doing really well. I want my piece of that or whatever. It's like, well, you don't understand. We have all the risk here, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have everything. You get to punch the clock and get your check. We still have to make sure the bank is going to be okay with us when our balloon comes up in 3 years or whatever it is, and all the other things that come along with the marketing and whatever else we got going on, right? There's a lot that goes into it. So
Yep.
yeah, for sure. Talk about partnerships. You guys have a lot of partnerships, it sounds like, where you've used other people's strengths maybe that they have that you don't. What are some do's and don'ts with partnerships? Because I know you guys have also had some that maybe for whatever reason maybe didn't work out or whatever the case is. But talk about that. Like, what are the do's and don'ts of partnerships for those people? Because I get this a lot. I get people that are brand new to real estate and they're not confident. So it's almost like they need their blankie, as I call it. Like they need that, they want to find a partner because they just don't have the confidence to do it. So they're like, well, let's just split up the risk and then I'm more comfortable. But a lot of times in those cases, it's more for a financial partner they need or something. And there's hard money lenders that could fill that gap, and then they're not stuck giving up equity in the deal, right? What do you guys see the benefits of some of the partnerships you've had, and what are some things somebody looking at maybe doing a partnership need to make sure on the front end that they're buttoning up before they dive into that partnership?
I think the biggest thing right off the bat is I wouldn't jump into any partnership that you haven't personally known the individual or the couple for at least 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
You have an understanding of their background, what their goals are, what their beliefs are, and that you have the same vision as they do. That's one of the most important aspects I truly feel, because you could, it's like dating. In the beginning you're excited, you got this new property, things are good, and all of a sudden, 6, 9, 12 months later, it's like things start kind of, getting a little bit shaky. And it's like, I never saw this coming out of this person.
Mm,
And that's that's just one of those things that I think is crucial.
that's really good. That's really good. Katie, what do you think? Front end, before you dive into the partnership, what anything you want to add to what Josh just mentioned there?
No, I think he put it that was a good analogy. It just know what you're getting into. Honestly, our partnerships have been really good for us. It's been very strong. We've been able to propel ourselves forward. Through people, you meet other people and you just grow. Like, we would have never met you, Corey, if it wasn't for a different partnership. You learn people, especially in real estate, it is such a small world. Um, so just growing and expanding your bubble is good. Josh and I are very picky with our partnerships at this point, but yeah, we've grown. Initially what we wanted 5 duplexes, and we're like, this is going to be great, this is all we need. And then through different partnerships we grew our mindset. We would never be where we are without. So
what does the portfolio look like now today? Tell the audience, what are you guys overall, that what does the whole thing look like?
So we have I wrote it down and sent it to you. I don't remember off the top of my head, so I apologize. I have it right here, so I don't want to. So we've got the 122 storage units, 3 short-term rentals. We've got 90 long-term doors and the 2 cranes.
Wow, that's awesome. And that's in 7 years. I mean, that's incredible.
Yep.
That's awesome. You guys are rock stars. I love it. Before we dive into one last final question for you guys, it's a little more fun question. Is there anything I didn't ask you today that you think the audience would want me to ask you, or that you want me to ask you?
No, I mean, I think if the deal makes sense, find a way to make it work. That's kind of what we've done. We've sold some properties, and not often, but we have sold, and we've had some mistakes that we've made where we're like, oh, we're going to lose so much on this. Real estate is it's incredible the power that it has and what it can propel you for. So we had a short term in Florida that, was not a great decision. It was a very shiny, bright object. It was by Disney. Awesome. It was so much work and so much effort, and we made a lot of money, but we broke even. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, it was really hard, and it was so volatile. And the market, I almost felt like I was looking for people to rent, and I was searching, and I could have just stayed within our bubble in what we know. So we expanded, we got excited about something. But we took the chance on it. We backed out of it, and we didn't lose ourselves from it, but like, I'm happy we took that chance. We learned a lot from it. Yeah.
Well, that's always the biggest thing. Even if you make a quote unquote mistake in real estate, as long as you learn from it and you grow from it, then it's not a loss, right? I use the analogy a lot of, like, people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a 4-year degree that they never use. And we all celebrate them, and we go to their graduation parties, and we do like, yay, you're $200,000 in debt now, and you're going to make about $30,000 a year as a librarian. Good job. In real estate, we don't celebrate when somebody has a quote unquote loss, but learn from it and grow. Their next one, now they make it up times 2 or 3, right? Everybody's just views it as a failure, when it's only a failure if you stop and you don't learn from it. I think something else you mentioned, Katie, that I think is really important to know, and this has been a theme with several podcast guests so far, is find a way to make the deal work. Right now, there's a lot of people, at the time we're recording this, interest rates are elevated compared to what they were in the last few years. And we see a lot of people sit on the sidelines waiting for the next crash. And what you're saying, don't wait for that crash. Get after it, right? Yeah, cool. All right. Before we end this thing, let's dive into a little fun question here. What is your favorite either Wisconsin tradition or favorite place in Wisconsin to visit? Like restaurant, lake, something. What is it?
So I apologize. It is raining very hard right now. We can't even hear you.
Okay.
That's why I hit mute before. Yeah.
We can't hear it too much here. You're good.
That's good. That's good, because I'm gonna see if I close the sunroof if it kind of blocks any of this noise out. I apologize. I didn't mean to add in there. It was just super hard to hear you.
That's okay.
Okay, what was your question now?
Favorite Wisconsin tradition or favorite place to visit in Wisconsin?
Favorite Wisconsin tradition. I mean, I grew up always with like the Friday night fish fry. And not that we've necessarily continued that tradition, but there's so many good fish fry joints, if you want to call it that, around Wisconsin, that the supper clubs, that I mean, that's just kind of a staple for me.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to that when we don't have a 5, 3, and 1-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, be fun to be able to do this.
That's why you need that assistant. You need the assistant to also be a babysitter,
Yeah.
so you guys can go to the.
Absolutely, that would be great.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Lastly, guys, if somebody wanted to reach out to you guys and just connect, where's the best place for them to go, and how do they find you?
Good question. We really do not do that much on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, they're absolutely welcome to always email us.
Yep.
And jkdinvestmentsllc@gmail.com.
Cool.
That's going to be one of the easiest ways.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, guys. This has been an awesome episode. There's so much to unpack here, and we could probably go for hours and hours and hours talking, but you guys have 3 kids and family that you have to get back to. So we're going to wrap this thing up. Thanks everybody for listening to this. If you got some good nuggets out of this, you're enjoying the podcast, as always, subscribe, share it with your friends, help us get the word out. The more people that listen to this, the bigger and badder guests we can get here, and the more value we can continue to bring to you guys. So shameless plug here. If you are looking for off-market deals, go to wisconsindiscountproperties.com and join the buyers list to get some off-market deals sent to your inbox every single Monday morning. And this has been another episode. Check us out. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one, guys. Hey, this has been another episode of the Wisconsin Investor. Thanks for tuning in. If you got some value out of the show, please go like, rate, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. And if you're new to investing in Wisconsin and you want to have a conversation with somebody from our team, we would love to have that conversation with you. To do that, just go to our website, wisconsindiscountproperties.com. Hit the contact us form, put a little bit of your info in there, and somebody from our team will reach out and have a conversation, hopefully help you start moving forward in your investing journey here in Wisconsin. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.